So 2003 has been an unexpected year for us because I expected that to be a significant slowdown on the amount of feasibility study business that we have. And in actuality, we've actually grown significantly, partially because of the fact that we're finding that more banks are actually requiring them. More investors are wanting to evaluate the risk because it's not cheap to borrow money anymore. And then lastly, too, as well, there are more concerns that people are actually consider overbuilding now. So I want to talk about two metrics that we personally use. I've seen a few other people use it, but I've not seen them widely discussed in feasibility studies. But I am going to personally lobby for them to be utilized more myself. And we are going to start adding them into our own feasibility studies as well, even though we're going to have to put it into a commentary section versus the actual, this is a widely accepted as part of a feasibility study. So the first is the ratio of available footprint or land to the blended price per square foot of existing storage in the area. And so I'm going to use a case study, but we actually did some type of a feasibility study on the exact same site. One, when my client purchased it. Two, when my client was considering exiting from it. And three, when a competitor was actually going to build basically right in the same vicinity as this facility. This was done over the course of roughly about 5 years time, actually, now that I think about it. So the first time we did a feasibility study, market was roughly doing about a blended rate of 90 cents a square foot, which is very good. And there was actually a significant undersupply of the market. Now what happened actually, as you flash forward a few years from that point forward, is that market, the operators in the market collectively realized that because of the shortage in the market, they could significantly charge a lot more. And so essentially what they did, because the demand was increasing, it was such high demand for that supply, they're actually getting $1.10 to $1.30. So your worst competitor or your lowest competitor in the market was getting $1.10 a square foot across the whole facility. And your highest was around $1.30. Reference that into the average cost, you could easily buy an acre of land for developing self-storage in this market for $40,000. So you think about that. My footprint cost per square foot, let's say I build 20,000 square foot, it's only $2 a square foot. And you factor that versus the cost of rent, those margins are so ridiculous. Flash forward a couple of years, what happened is that when they sold, they basically sold at the top of the market. So if they sold today, they actually would have gotten less, because what happened is the price per blended price per square foot dropped roughly now it's back to where it was, back around 90 cents a square foot, because the market now has been flooded. And now this market, in the course of 5 years, will 5x their inventory, because the cost of land is so cheap that when people see margins that high, they just rush in. I invested in a business, many people know this, Sky Zone, a number of franchises. And when we first bought into this, the numbers were just crazy. But then as we came through, there were just so many other businesses that came in. There was Launch, there was, I can't tell you how many different trampoline park businesses they are. And slowly, the margins came down. They're still decent, but they were nowhere near where they were before. So that's something you always have to consider, is that if the numbers are so ridiculous, you can't perceive that you're going to get the same numbers like that forever. It's just not going to happen. If you're making a killing, somebody will come in and see those numbers and recognize they can come into that market as well. And that's why overbuilding is real. The second one, and I see this more often, I'm going to plug Ryan Gibson at Spartan Investment Group. He's somebody I respect significantly, but he's probably one of the few other people I've really heard talk about this metric too as well. But it's the ratio of apartments or rental housing to price per square foot, or blended price per square foot for storage. So what that means is that, let's say that I have an apartment complex that is getting roughly 90 cents a square foot for a unit. If self-storage is $1.10 a square foot and I need 200 more square feet of storage, why wouldn't I just upgrade to a 200 square foot apartment or more and get from 800 to 1,000, pay less, and just walk north to get my storage next door, rather than having to drive to a self-storage facility? So that is a terrible metric. When you see self-storage as getting a higher rent rate than apartment complexes, I look at that is not going to last forever. So those are some metrics to consider. Wanted to talk about a few things about feasibility studies in the future, so we'll touch base on that next week.